Hi there, I'm Lisa Taylor, and this is Ideas on Truth. I had a really hard time hitting record or go live tonight because I'm dealing with a subject that there's a lot of really strong belief and thought around in the world. And whenever you go up against what the general thought believes, there's a lot of resistance to that. So anyway, I'm dealing with that, but I'm pushing through, and I'm going to just come on because I have to talk about my own experience. I've been working with a client actually in the last couple of days who lost a dear friend of theirs and is dealing with a great sense of loss and grief and sadness. And around the belief of death, there is absolutely a lot to deal with, a lot of loss and grief, sadness, heaviness, and it is all, and I can tell you this from my own experience, it is all based in the belief that there is life in matter. If we believe that there is life in matter, then we are going to succumb to the effects of the belief of death in matter or death out of matter. And the truth is, there is no life in matter. Therefore, there can be no death in matter. That life is eternal. We know this. We know that life is spiritual. So there have been several experiences I've had in my life, just firsthand experiences, but I wanted to just share this concept that came to me today in trying to help this friend of mine that might give a glimpse into the truth behind what these statements are. So when you think of a number, like the number 7, or you think of a note, like middle C, those are concepts, those are ideas in mind. And I think of mind as God, capital M, mind. In reality, capital R. So when you have an idea in mind, the representation of that idea can take many, many different forms. So you can have a note written on a piece of paper. You have, sheet music. You can have a note that's played by an instrument that you listen to. You can have a symphony playing a song. If you rip up the sheet music, that note still exists. If you tell the orchestra, don't ever play that song again, the song still exists. If you delete the recording of somebody who's played like Bohemian Rhapsody, the song still exists. If I say to you right now, close your eyes and think about the song Bohemian Rhapsody, you can hear it in your mind. That song exists even if the actual sound isn't coming to your ears, even if you don't have the sheet music in front of you and that has been destroyed and gone. The recording has been destroyed. The idea of the song, of the notes, exist without any physical material representation of the song. It's an idea. It's spiritual. So just as that is true with a song, it is true with an individual. The idea of our identity is spiritual, and that cannot be destroyed by changing the belief of how the identity is showing up and being represented. If we believe there is life in matter, if we believe that identity is confined in a material form, then when that material form goes away, the identity goes away. When we understand that identity is not based in matter, it is not succumb to matter and to material laws, which are illusory, then we can take a step back from the restrictions of that. So there was an experience I had back in 1986, this is a long time ago, when the shuttle Challenger went up and there were 7 astronauts on the shuttle and the shuttle exploded. I was working in news at the time. Anyone who was watching saw this, the media played the recording over and over and over again of this Challenger blowing up. And we all watched before our very eyes 7 people die. It was an incredibly tragic loss and thing to witness. I was very much struggling with the idea of okay, I grew up believing there is no death, that life is eternal. And I was like, okay, explain this one, because I don't get it. And I was like pissed. It was like, okay, God, I don't get it. Like, I need an answer, because this does not make sense to me. I don't understand it. We just watched 7 people die right before our eyes, and you're going to tell me there is no death? Like, I don't get it. So prove it. So I went to bed that night, and I had a vision. I was an astronaut. I was dressed in shuttle garb. I had my helmet and my suit on. We went onto the shuttle. We walked across the bridge. We went and we sat down. We strapped ourselves in. The engine's rumbling. It takes off. And there's this very high-pitched noise, like gas escaping under pressure kind of noise. And we couldn't get to our ears to block out the noise because our helmets were on. And then the explosion happens. And the only thing that changed was the noise stopped. I was exactly the same. It was like walking across a line on the floor. Nothing changed. Then there was this kind of like in a movie, you know, where there's a jump cut. There was like this jump cut. And then I'm standing on the beach next to where all the people are watching the liftoff, and they're like across from Cape Canaveral, and they're a safe distance away. They're all standing on the beach, and they've just watched the shuttle explode, and they're sobbing and crying, obviously unconsolable, this incredible tragedy. And I'm standing there, and I'm standing right next to them saying, I'm okay, everything's fine. And they can't see me or hear me, but I'm standing right there trying to console them and say, I'm okay, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong. I'm still here. I'm okay. And we're on different planes of consciousness. They can't see me, hear me, but I'm there, and I'm standing right next to them, and I see what they're going through, and my heart goes out to them. And it was an experience. Well, here's what I need to say. The reason why I know that was a vision and it wasn't a true answer to my question was because the information I got in that vision about the gas escaping came out in the news the next day. The fact that the O-ring was frozen and cracked and the gas was escaping, and the buildup of the gas is what caused the explosion. Nobody knew that night. They didn't find that out, or if they did, they didn't release the news. The news came out the next day. So that piece of information that I was given in this vision as to the cause of the explosion was proof positive to me that this was not just a dream, that me making stuff up. This was an answer to a prayer. This was me getting a very direct answer to, okay, prove it. And I lived through the experience and came out the other side understanding, having lived through it, that there is no death, that nothing changed for me, other than being on a different plane of consciousness where the people standing on the beach couldn't see me or hear me. But I was trying to help them understand that I was fine. So I just wanted to share that. I know that death is a big subject. I know that the belief in death is what causes the grief and that heavy sense of loss. When we understand that life is not in matter, that it cannot then fall out of matter through death, when we understand that, we have a glimpse of the reality of life being eternal and a connection to what that is and the identity of those who have passed from this understanding in the illusion of the material senses. So I don't know if that helps anybody sort of get a glimpse of it. And I know that there are times when I struggle with the belief too. I mean, we all do. We struggle with believing this so much because this illusion is so persistent and seems so real. But when we understand that this isn't real, that there is no life in matter, that life is spiritual and solid spirit is what we really are dealing with, it helps alleviate that. And I hope that in some way this gives you hope to understand that life is eternal, that there is life after what seems to be death. I love you guys. And if this is something that you think might help somebody, please share it. I'll share another story that I had another time. I don't want to make this too long. Where I had a choice to stay in this experience or not, and I decided to stay, but I'll share that another time. But again, that was another experience that just proved beyond a shadow of doubt for me that there is no death. And I know that. All right. I love you guys. Bye.